So it seems as Nintendo's E3 ship has been springing leaks so much that I'm surprised anyone still wants to see the show. However, I still think it still behooves us to take a look at some of these Pokemon leaks and analyze what they mean as a whole. Whether or not they're true, I think that these leaks have really brought to light what the community is all about. The Pokemon community, I mean. We are not well. Welcome back to Potential Cover, home of the world's gassiest gamers. My name's Delampo, and today I'm going to talk about Pokemon leaks. Now, this one's going to be a little more informal because I can't really see myself going into too much depth about these rumored leaks or whatever, because really I can't bring myself to care all that much. It's just Pokemon as usual. It's also partially because I don't want some of the rumors to be true. I'm trying to keep positive about it, trying to stay optimistic, but some of the things are a little worrying, and we'll get to those later. Before we continue, I just want to let you guys know that if you enjoy the content, you can hit that subscribe button. Hey, and if you really like the content, hit that bell, you know, and all that jazz. That's a saxophone, if you were wondering what I was doing. I don't know. Either way, let's get started. A rose by any other name would still smell as sweet. You know who said that? Charlie Sheen, while he was high on Charlie Sheen. This is not true when it comes to video games. The names of certain things can cause so much subjectivity it would make your head spin. I could give you a list like 10 miles long of games that were maligned by their namesake. I'm gonna give you two right now though. There's DMC, you know, the Devil May Cry remake. Great game, but just because it didn't have like the original Dante, people were like, oh, fucking hate that game, it's stupid, it's not the original, That's my impression of you. And Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, a pure example of, oh, it's okay when other people do it, but I'm not allowed to do it because I'm named something. Yeah. To be frank, a game's name can actually be something that, you know, can really cement it as an icon within the gaming community, or it can be something that just blasts it into obscurity. So it's a double-edged sword. So that's why the idea that these games could be called Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee actually should carry more weight than you might think. Objectively, the naming scheme has been a little bit different than what's usual. It went from colors to jewels to celestial bodies, so it was bound to change again, I guess. However, as far as I know, I can't remember a game in which a featured Pokemon was in the title of the game. Even Yellow version, although it featured Pikachu, was still called Yellow version. So that's where it gets a little weird for me. And really, that's my only like qualm with it. Like, it's not even like a real one. It's just like a weird like take back kind of thing, you know. Other people have said that they don't really like it because it sounds a little too casual. But once you name a game Pokemon Pearl, it kind of, I don't know, like any semblance of like seriousness kind of like flies out the window with that. No, but I don't suspect these names will have too much impact on the game's tone. I mean, these games are intended for a younger audience, whether you like it or not. Like, I know there's a competitive scene, but at the end of the day, it's for kids. And there's nothing wrong with liking games that are intended for children. Cooking Mama is one of my favorite game series of all time. And Pokemon, as far as I know, once again, has always been on the lighter side. I mean, you know, there's like a few like clips there, like the graveyards in like almost every Pokemon game. Like, what the hell is that? Like, we get it, Pokemon die. And honestly, I can't see how they can make the game's mechanics any like more casual friendly than they did in Sun and Moon. The idea that I was told constantly like what's super effective against my enemy Pokemon kind of took me out of it. Because I always thought that was like one of like the best challenges, like remembering not only the Pokemon's names but their typing and what works well against that typing. So I don't know, it seemed kind of weird to me. But that's most likely because I've played a Pokemon game before, and that'll get into what we're going to talk about that later, accessibility and all that jazz. Okay, so I guess Pokemon Go is supposed to play some kind of role in this, and this could take a multitude of forms, all of which I can't think would make me stop using its functionality within like a week. So they'd have to do something pretty special to get me to keep using Pokemon Go here. It's been thrown around that the functionality could take the form of capturing and transferring Pokemon as well as events, some of which I have higher opinions of than the others, namely the idea of Pokemon events, that I could take my phone to a GameStop and get event Pokemon that way instead of having to lug my Switch or DS, all that stuff over. That was always like a nuisance. Like I'd find out that an event was happening, I'd be like, oh man, I didn't bring my DS and I don't feel like driving all the way home to come back and get it. It was annoying. As far as capturing Pokemon, I don't know how that would work in docked mode. We do know that the Switch has a touchscreen, so you know, throwing your curveballs and all that stuff, that might be fine. It's just weird. It's just weird, but there's nothing wrong with innovation. There's nothing wrong with moving the series in that direction. It doesn't hurt anything. You just have to get better at throwing Pokeballs, so hopefully you're good at that. If not, hopefully you can turn it off. Also, I kind of like the idea of having events in which rewards are given in Pokemon Go, and I can transfer them over, like Pokeballs or something. Like, I know Pokeballs aren't super expensive in the mainline games, but there's nothing wrong with having more of them. Also, if there's a way for us to transfer Pokeballs from the main game to Pokemon Go, I don't know that they'd want to do that, because that would probably undercut like a lot of their money that they bring in from that. But yeah, that might be cool, as well as like things like cosmetics, you know, trainer shirts, pants, whatever. Anything to give you that extra bit of customization, I don't think that would hurt. However, one thing that's been brought up that really gives me pause is the idea that certain evolution chains would be locked to Pokemon Go. There's a few issues with this. Namely, the number one thing would be that not everybody has a cell phone, let alone like a smartphone. It seems a little unfair if that were the case to have evolution chains locked to Pokemon Go, but it's also kind of unfair to have evolution chains locked to trading. Like if you don't have friends, that can get a little sad. Namely, the idea that you don't have friends, but those people exist, so sorry. All in all, it makes sense to transfer people from Pokemon Go, like if they're coming from Pokemon Go to this new Pokemon game, because you know there are similarities. Like, oh look, remember how you throw the ball in that game? Well, look, in the mainline game, you throw the ball the same way. It's just those little ways of bridging the gap between people who haven't played it before and people who are buying them out of habit. Okay, so I really friggin' hope you like Kanto, because the new rumor is that the game's gonna focus on the original 151. Okay, so there are what the Pokemon community effectively calls Gen 1ers. Those are basically people who think that Pokemon started and ended with Gen 1, Kanto. Anything outside of that is absolute bullshit and should not be looked at. It's actually not very affectionate. We don't like them, but I can see why. It's nostalgia, it's familiarity. A lot of people got into Pokemon when they were just growing out of enjoying that sort of game, and some people would never grow out of it. That's what I was talking about before. But with this, it seems like people, you know, they enjoyed Kanto at a certain point in their time, like in their life, and then everything after that just either confused them, they just didn't like it, they didn't like the appeal of it, or they just felt that they had grown out of it. Whatever it may be, that's where it stopped for them. However, no one seems to throw rocks at the original Pokemon games like they should. Objectively, they might be the most technically unsound of all of them, at least from a design standpoint. The idea that the game would punish you for choosing your starter Pokemon simply based on which one you like the most, knowing that, you know, Bulbasaur is effectively easy mode and Charmander is hard mode. You wouldn't know that, you know, if you just picked Charmander because, hey, you like Charmander, you got to the first gym and realized that Onix was just beating that ass. How is that fair? Also, the idea that Psychic Pokemon basically went unchallenged, like, the entire generation. Like, you had to have a Psychic Pokemon, like that was it. So back to the rumor. Like I was saying, like when I first heard it, I was like actually more upset than I probably should have been, because there's a difference between focusing on the original 151 and only having like exclusively the original 151. All of the remakes have focused on that gen's Pokemon regardless, but that never stopped them from, you know, taking Pokemon from other generations and using them. So like in Omega Ruby and Sapphire, you could still use Pokemon from X and Y, so that was cool. I really actually liked that. So you can get your fix there, you can get your nostalgia fix there, and still be able to enjoy what the other Pokemon, their designs and, you know, behaviors and all that stuff, and enjoy that. So yeah, if you're like a heavy like Pokemon fanboy or girl, like, you know, like we've had it up to here with like Kanto. There's like Red and Blue, Fire Red Leaf Green, Generations in the TCG, Pokemon freaking Go, and it's the only theme song that anybody knows from Pokemon. It's just like Kanto, Kanto, Kanto. Like, chill out. Like, honestly, even the new game, like Sun and Moon, would not shut the hell up about Kanto. Like, they would not stop reminding you how close Kanto is. And I guess if it's following that game, it kind of sort of makes sense. But they said it's like a remake. Like, the rumors say it's a remake, so once it's weird because they keep saying that like Red and Blue still like exist. Like the characters Red and Blue still exist. So there are some continuity like questions I have about that, like about Team Rocket and how they're disbanded. But that's a rabbit hole I really don't want to go down. Either way, if you're going to experience this game, it doesn't really matter when you pick it up because you're going to pay full price for it. Like, literally go to any GameStop and try to pick up Heart Gold or Soul Silver for anything less than $50. You can't. Oh. Can't tell. Yeah. But it does give some sort of, like, security in the idea that if I buy a game for $60 throughout its lifetime, I'll most likely be able to pick that game up for anywhere from $50 to $60. So it doesn't... Pokemon games don't tend to lose their value. So all in all, at the end of the day, like, at its worst, this game, if it's real, would just be a mainline Gen 1 game with Pokemon Go battle system that's named Let's Go something. And honestly, that still sounds like something that would send like 10 million copies like right away. And there's nothing I can do about that. There's nothing you can do about that. It's just the nature of Pokemon and its popularity. So I feel like it's good and it's warranted to stay, you know, optimistic about these things because, you know, change can be good, but sometimes it's not horrible to go back and relive what, you know, made a lot of us fall in love with Pokemon. There are other things like the development time and how quickly the turnaround was, and not to expect too much, you know, graphically and that kind of thing from this game, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think the turnaround time was way too fast for this to be like a Breath of the Wild style Pokemon game. That's not gonna happen. I really don't think it will, but it might next time, you know, the next time the next Pokemon game comes. And if this is a remake, just know that new Pokemon are still gonna come, if not this time, the next time. So I would just advise you to stay patient, stay positive, and stay perfect.
So it looks like summer's here and it's gonna be hot, hot, hot. So we're here to keep you looking cool. Our online merch store has a myriad of designs to suit you or anyone you're shopping for. With new designs every month, there's always something to look forward to. So remember, stay cool, stay real, and stay perfect. Hey there, thank you so much for watching the video. Make sure to sound off in the comments if you like what you saw. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share the video. If you didn't, hey, sorry to hear that, but you might like something else on the channel. Who knows? And if you got the time, make sure to check all the links in the bio. Got things from our merch store to our Twitters, and hell, might be a giveaway in there.